Welcome to the Quimby Qronicles Momcast, where we talk about all things motherhood, family, and keeping your sanity through it all. On today's episode, we're talking about AI and parenting. Join us as we talk about AI in our everyday lives, what our kids are learning from AI and surveillance, ethical concerns and digital footprints, and tech and the emotional load. Ready to join the conversation? Come on in.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Quimby Chronicles Momcast, where you guys already know that we keep it real and relatable on this side. I'm Chanté, and of course I'm here with my mommy today, Traci.
Hey, Chanté.
Mom.
So, hey, y'all. So, we are back again this week, honey. And when I tell y'all that life has been lifing, okay? Life has been lifing. So, but like we promised, we're here. Okay, we here. We ready to talk. So today, we're gonna be yapping about AI and parenting. And AI now is everywhere, and sometimes you can't even tell what's AI and what's not. So today, we're gonna talk about how we use AI in our everyday lives. We're gonna talk about what our kids are learning from AI. We're gonna talk about the surveillance aspect of it, and then of course the ethical concerns and the digital footprint. So yeah, that's what we're gonna yap about today. If you ready, go on and get your coffee, your wine, your whatever, because I got my mint tea here, okay? Because I need a little. So I got my mint tea today. So y'all ready? Shall I tell you ready?
I'm ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Right?
Well,
Let's do this. Okay, so first we're going to be talking about how we use AI in the everyday life as a parent and how parents these days are using the AI tools. You have the scheduling apps, you have the smart monitors, and you have like the ring cameras, the blink cameras, all the fixins. There's the chat tools, so like Chat GPT. I don't really know many other. I don't know why I said it like I was listing off stuff. I don't really know any other ones, but I know that there are more out there. But there are a lot of tools that we use from in the day-to-day life that we sometimes don't even realize are AI.
oh, I mean, the biggest one. Let's talk about Siri. And let's talk about Gemini. Let's talk about Alexa. Those are, and I ain't gonna lie to you, okay? Me and Alexa, we go together real bad, okay? Because Alexa sets my timers, Alexa sets my alarms, Alexa tells me what the weather is, and it's convenient. It's convenient, especially as a mom when you're juggling so many different things in your head. I have found that using AI tools like Alexa and scheduling tools and stuff like that, I've found that they lighten that part of my load. I don't have to think like, dang, is it, what's for dinner today? Or, I have to be thinking like, does somebody have an appointment today? Or did I set my alarm for in the morning? I don't have to do it because I can do it, and I can tell Alexa how often to do it. If I want to tell Alexa to skip every seventh Sunday from that alarm, then it'll do it with no problem. So, AI has made it a lot easier. It's made everyday life a lot easier in certain aspects. So, definitely beneficial. It's convenient. Those reminders. Life be life all the time. And honey, without Alexa, first of all, let me just go on and be real with y'all. My Alexa has two alarms that are set all the time, no matter what. So the two alarms, 4:30 p.m. every day for trash, to remind us to put the trash out, and 9:30 p.m. when those two little scallywags, it's time for them to go to bed. So those two alarms, and what's funny is that they've become conditioned. So they know that first alarm, they're like, oh, it's time to put the trash out. First of all, where you going? Because y'all ain't putting no trash out. Just go sit down. What you excited about? Then the second alarm is, oh man, it's time for bed. So AI definitely does help in that way. And then the third benefit of AI that I found is educational support. So those of you that have toddlers or have had toddlers that are in the, well, how come? Well, why? Well, what is this? They'll come home from school and be like, oh, what did Lyric ask me about? The Montgomery bus boycott. So, I have a working knowledge of the Montgomery bus boycott. But then Lyric started asking me these in-depth questions, and I was like, okay, so hey Alexa, So it's definitely helpful. And when used correctly, I feel like they are very, very, very good tools. Very good tools. But of course, Shantae gonna tell you about the risks. Okay.
Because you guys already know when there's pros, there are going to be cons. And don't get me wrong, Alexa and I also go together real bad because I use it for the grocery list because 9 times out of 10, when I see that we need something, I'm down in the kitchen and I almost never remember to bring my phone with me downstairs. So then in my head, I'm thinking, I need to add ketchup to the list. By the time I get back upstairs and I have my phone, I don't remember anything about ketchup until I go to use it again. So when I'm down there in the kitchen, I see that we need ketchup. Hey, Alexa, add ketchup to the grocery list. And my Alexa will very nicely tell me, okay, I will. And then that's the end of that. Then
Mhm.
think about it anymore because then when I go to pull up the list, all the stuff is going to be there. I always see that we need things when I'm downstairs and I never have my phone. So Alexa and I also go together real bad. But like I said, when there's pros, there's cons. And cons, risk, however you want to word it. And that could include things like over independence on the technology, and you have the decision making aspect that AI likes to use with
Mhm.
data instead of instinct. They're just using like random numbers and things that don't really apply to you per se. They just think that's what you would want because they're just pulling from basically like the common pool. And as we all know, we are not all the same. So don't make decisions for me that you would make for Susan down the street because we are not the same person. Honestly, no hate to Susan, but she doesn't have anything to do with me. That's not
Right.
me. So there's honestly, it's really hit or miss. It's whether you want to take it there or not. And me personally, I'm gonna take it there because, like I said, I love my Alexa. And over dependency, that could also it could get in deep for some people where they feel like technology is just ruling their house
Right.
and like that. But I mean, honestly, that's kind of goes into the territory to each their own because, like I said, what works for you may not work for the next person. So you may want to have an Alexa device in every single room in your house. The other person may not want an AI device in their house at all. So it's really just what works for you.
Now, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Shantae. I thought she was done. I'm sorry. But just to speak on the overdependence on technology, and I don't even know if I saved the video, but there was this video on TikTok, Instagram, I don't know, some social media platform, where there was a neurologist that was saying that people who use the GPS for guidance everywhere they go, like you stop using that part of your brain. So like and it's the decision making part because now you don't have to make decisions. And like Shantae was talking about, data versus instinct, because before there was AI, we would be like, okay, well, I'm gonna go this way, or be like, there's usually traffic over here at 3 o'clock, so I'm gonna go this way. But now we don't have to make that decision because AI makes it for us. So that I think that kind of goes into that interdependence on technology that Shantae was talking about. So I just had to add my little 2 cents. Okay. So next topic we're going to talk about is what our kids are learning from AI and what the concerns are around these AI driven driven learning apps, YouTube Kids, TikTok content recommendations. Honey, first of all, okay, we banned our children from being on YouTube a year, 2 years ago.
It's been too.
Still, so they're on YouTube Kids. They're on YouTube Kids. Still, somehow, my daughter says, "Mommy, I saw you and Shantae on you."
Oh, woo.
What? So I don't know. Somehow, the things that aren't supposed to be on there, they're on there. And so I don't, it just drives me a little bit nuts because I feel like with this AI and it's constantly learning and constantly watching, constantly listening, then it's like, we don't necessarily know where they're at right now. I asked you to do this, but I didn't ask you to predict that I was gonna do this. Like, wait a minute, what's Hold on, hold your horses. And just like the algorithm. People talk about the algorithm all the time on Instagram and on TikTok and stuff like that. And I have so the guy that I'm dating, his algorithm be jacked up all the time. It's always jacked up. He's like, I want this on my algorithm. So he'll be like, oh, I reset my algorithm. So then he'll be like, oh yeah, my algorithm's good. My algorithm's good. Then next thing you know, he'll be DMing me stuff like, really? I'm like, you acting like I did it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. The algorithm did it. So it's just crazy how things like that work. Or like sometimes we'll be talking about stuff and then all of a sudden here comes an ad for what we were talking about. Cause what? Yeah. So I mean, it's a little disconcerting, especially when you have these kids, because like my daughter, she has texted me like whole paragraphs before. And I'm like, all right, like I know you know how to read and I know you know how to spell, but be for real. She was like, I just talked to Siri and I told her, and Siri wrote it for me. Okay. I was like, okay, got it, got it. So that's the thing. And then, and that's what our kids are learning. So there's AI that's pushing the algorithms on these different apps and the learning apps on TikTok, YouTube, stuff like that. But then the kids are learning how to have AI do these things for them, which is crazy because at 6, you talking to text, 4, 5, you talking to text. So, and I mean, I guess, on the one hand, it's they got to keep up. But then on the other hand, it's like, oh my God, well, how far can this thing go? So I don't know. I don't know.
That's definitely something that's scary because I also banned my son from using YouTube Kids. Like, I took it off the TV, I took it off the iPad, the phones, all of that, because there was this one time, there was this show that pops up on there all the time. I think it's called like Masha and the Bear or whatever. My goodness, seeing how that girl acts in the videos, absolutely ridiculous. Like the kicking, the screaming, the tantrums. And
Mm,
then there's other ones like Nikki and Vlad that, they'll be having other kids thinking that it's okay to talk to their parents a certain kind of way. Like me, yeah, I'm not a parent that beats my children, but like you will get fussed at if you're talking to me crazy. Like we will have an issue
right.
if I sense that your tone is a little off-putting. Like, because I will ask my son in a heartbeat, like, who are you talking to? Oh,
Mm,
I'm okay, thank you. Because clock that. Don't do that anymore. Don't you ever think that it's okay to talk to me like that. Because like this was probably like a month ago, and I mind you, I wasn't even talking to my son. I was talking to my husband. He said, Mom, you're pissing me off. I was like, what? You're pissing me off, Mom. You're pissing me off. Because tripling down on it was actually insane. I asked Luca, who are you talking to? I'm sorry, Mom. You don't sound like you're sorry, because you're about to go and sit in that corner. And then that's when Alexa comes into play again. Alexa, set a timer for 4 minutes, because however old he is, I add a minute because you know better. Don't talk to me like that. So now that he's 3, he sits in timeout for 4 minutes
mm.
because he's lucky he's not old enough to be writing sentences, because I would very nicely have a stack of paper waiting on him.
I know that's right.
He really does get beside himself. And obviously, like, it is what it is. Like, he's a toddler, he's learning. He had to hear it from somewhere, which it so I can't even be that mad, because it quite possibly could have came from me. So I don't, but I know that you know not to say that to me. So we're gonna correct that. And that's when they're watching, like, all these shows and their algorithm that pops up, on the YouTube Kids or whatever. You have to sit back and think, like, who is it that's programming this stuff? Like, where is it coming from? How is it happening? Because my son would be getting like actual NBA clips on his YouTube Kids, and I'm like, with the commentators talking crazy, like I'm sitting there confused. Like, it's set for a 2-year-old. How did this even make it in here? So after
Exactly.
that, yeah, we're just gonna cut that completely. He has access to Disney Plus, and he has his own profile, so it's only kid things that pop up. And when he's not on his iPad, he watches the cartoons that I grew up with. So the Clifford, the Miss Spider, Sunny Patch Kids, the Wow Wow Wubsy, all the cartoons that I grew up with that I personally know are safe. what him and my daughter watch. They were just watching Strawberry Shortcake the other day, Little Bear, Oswald. Like, I'm glad that streaming services still stream the shows that I grew up with, because I know that they're safe to watch. And I think for my kids personally, they function better with the low stimulation shows the same way I did. So me, I like quote unquote boring shows like Little Bear and so rude.
Like,
Oh, both of our faces, we were both like,
all right. I didn't
okay.
even know it was gonna die.
Can I
Okay.
just like same clip again?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, you
You can
ready?
continue. It'll clip out what it doesn't, what it thinks is. They call it fluff.
Oh, okay.
It'll cut it out automatically.
Okay. So yes, like how I have always functioned better and took to shows better that are low stimulation. So like Bear in the Big Blue House. There we go, tongue twister. Sorry. Little Bear, Oswald. Like I liked the little boring shows like that because they were calming to me. Not that I was, a hyper off the wall kid, but my kids are. And that's what they actually like those shows better. Like Luca will ask me all the time, Mom, can I watch Little Bear? Mom, can I watch Franklin? And we love them. I will sit there and watch them too. So it, like, you can only keep your eye on it so much because you can't really control every single thing that they're going to see, every single thing they come in contact with. I wish you could, but it's just not possible in this world. Like things are going to happen. So
Yeah.
I just do my best. I make sure that the stuff that he's seeing is censored as best as I can get it. So, like I said, the kid profiles, because he has a kid profile on Hulu, the kid profile on Disney Plus, which he does not have access to Hulu on his own because he knows how to switch. He knows how to switch profiles. So on Disney Plus, I can add the pins to everyone else's profile, but on Hulu, I don't think you can do that. So he can only watch Hulu when I put it on for him. And same thing with, like the Paramount and the Peacock and all that. The only one he is allowed to touch on his own is Disney Plus and PBS Kids. That's it.
Right.
Those are the
Yeah.
only two streaming services that he has access to on his iPad because it is quite literally only kid stuff. Even
Right.
something rated like PG that I'm okay with him watching, I have to go and switch the profile to mine because only G rated pops up on his. Which I love that for him because there's certain movies and shows that he wants to watch, like, things like Finding Nemo and things like that, they would be rated, PG, or he can't. I don't even think Moana props up on his profile, so I switch it for him to watch Moana and all the other little Disney movies that he likes. I just have to switch it because if it's not G, I don't think it's popping up. Or even youth, the youth ratings, obviously they'll have those on there too. But there's things that I feel personally that I'm okay with him watching, so I'll have to just switch it over and let him watch whatever I feel like is okay. But I mean, that's really the most you could do. You could only censor it as much as you can, honestly. And
Amen.
that's going to take us into our next topic, the AI and surveillance parenting. So we're going to go ahead and get into that one a little bit.
So with the surveillance part, that comes with, of course, GPS. And what doesn't have GPS these days? It seems like everything has GPS. Our phones have GPS, the vehicles have GPS, our watches have GPS, all the devices have GPS, the tablets, and stuff like that. The street lights, they're tracking you and stuff like that. So, being able to monitor stuff using AI it can be beneficial, definitely. Because then if you can track, when your kids get to be a certain age, they start to think that they're smarter than you are. So when they get to that point, they start to think they're smarter than you are, then, you're going to have to do something. And, but kids, they'll find a way around everything. Like Chanté said, you cannot be on them like 24 hours a day. It's just not realistic. So, we do use a lot of these apps and stuff like that to be able to track our kids because, like, I know my son, I'd be like, I'm looking at your location. He'd be like, oh, yeah, 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 yeah. We weren't doing nothing in first and second period. Okay, okay. But, and although there are people like us who use that for safety, we use it for protection, we use it to make sure that our kids are where they're supposed to be, it can also go the other way, because on the one hand, you can look at it as it's protection. But on the other hand, you could look at it as, my mom doesn't trust me. So, I mean, and then it's a two-sided, it's a double-edged sword. But the thing is, the most important thing I think is in situations like that is knowing your children. Knowing what your children are capable of. Now, when Chanté was in high school, I never had to worry whether Chanté was at school or not. Chanté would go to school. And if Chanté didn't feel well, Chanté wanted to stay home, Chanté would be like, hey, mom, can I stay home? Hey, mom, I'm not feeling well. I don't want to go to school. Well, number two and number three. Number two. How will I know the number two didn't go to school? I get a call. This is a call from Leonard High School. Jasmine was so then I'm calling her. Oh, I didn't feel good, da 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 da. So that's the thing. You have to know your kids. So with her and with my son, I know I have to check. I gotta check. Just cause I gotta check. So I mean, they may view it as a lack of trust, but the way I look at it, get your life together, and then I wouldn't even have to be checking you. So, but that's me. And then you have plenty of people that are out here, that have it's ill. They have ill will. They have ill intent when they use these AI tools and stuff like that. And the whole like getting using AI now to make they're using AI to make videos because like you'll see on social media, you'll see they'll use like a rapper's voice and their likeness. They'll use the voice, they'll use the likeness, and it sounds so much like that person that if you don't listen very, very closely, you're going to think it's that person. And that could be damaging to people's reputation. It could be damaging to their brand. Just like Chanté said, you got the good. So you have the people who are using the AI for good, for positivity, to help further, us as a people. And then you have people who are using it for bad. They're using it to scam people out of money. They're using it to, prank people. They're probably using it to commit crimes at this point. I wouldn't be surprised, So I don't know. I don't know. It's a lot left to be seen. And I'm not gonna lie to y'all. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, however, there's movies that I feel like, oh no, life is kind of heading that way. And right now, in this little section of life that we in, I feel like we're in the iRobot. Because the AI started off very helpful. Then the AI started helping a little bit more and helping a little bit more and helping a little bit more, and then all of a sudden they took over.
That also reminds me of the movie. This is like a really old Disney movie. Okay, not really old, because then it's not really old. I think it's like from the 90s. So I don't know why I said really old, because that's not even that much older than me. I barely made it out the 90s. Anyways, not the point. Not the point. It reminds me of that movie Smart House, where you guys know the kid won like some contest, so then their house got upgraded to a smart house. And the AI was super duper helpful. Like my mom said, super duper helpful in the beginning, and then helping a little more, helping a little more, helping a little more, helping a little too much. Turned
Mm-hmm.
her into a robot, tried to take over the family, and then, I won't say the words, but hurt them and, kind of put them in the ground permanently. And it just got wicked. And it all just started off with AI. The AI would have breakfast ready for them or have their clothes laid out or like hung up or whatever. And then it turned to her wanting to hurt them. Like,
Yeah.
because all because she fell in love with the dad. Like she took it to that level. There's also an episode of what's that show? Sweet Life is Zach and Cody. No, the one where they were on the boat. Sweet Life on Deck. There's an episode of that where if you guys ever watched the show, the maintenance man Arwen from the first series, he created this robot and it ended up falling in love with him and tried to take it took over the boat completely. Mind you, they're in a cruise ship in the middle of the ocean. She took over the boat completely and was trying to hurt people because Arwen didn't want to be with her for real, because she's a robot. People have been making like movies and episodes and shows about this stuff for years. And it's kind of coming into play because AI now, how it is now, is bigger than it's ever been before. Ever even, probably bigger than people even imagined that it could be. So we'll see how this plays out. But
Mm-hmm.
and that is going to create another little segue into our next topic, which is ethical concerns and digital footprint. And that's facial recognition in toys and, home surveillance, because I know Alexa uses facial recognition because say that my husband walks into the kitchen, there won't be any notifications, but as soon as it hears or sees me, it's going to give notifications like, oh, your package was delivered, or things ads that it would think that I would like, or notifications that it thinks that I would like, or oh, it's time to buy this again. And no, like, obviously it's set up for each person. So when it hears and sees my husband, it's not really going to do much because, I mean, he'll, use it here and there to tell it to do things, but I'm the one that, really has it personalized to me per se. So then when it hears me, then that's when all the notifications start rolling in, because I walk in and then it's like, doo-doo, doo-doo, doo-doo. And then like, I've been down here for like 20 minutes and it didn't make any noise. And I was like, oh, it probably heard me. And he was like, what? And I was like,
yeah, because what's crazy now that you say that, because a lot of times I'll say, like, my first time for the day using Alexa, I'd be like, if I'm going to take a nap, I'd be like, oh, Alexa, set an alarm for, say, 4 o'clock. And they'll be like, good afternoon, Tracy.
yeah.
How you know it's me? So sometimes it gets it wrong. And I want to say the only two people's names it calls is me and my son. Everybody else, like, because all the rest of us are females, they call everybody else Tracy. Or no, I take it back, because sometimes Alexa will just say good afternoon. It wouldn't even call a name. So I'm telling tales on Alexa.
You're
Yeah.
like from time to time. When we were there,
Mm-hmm.
the one by the stairs, good evening, Tracy.
Yeah.
No, ain't me, but hey.
Right. When nobody talk. So that's the thing. And then you get to talking about these ethical concerns. Like, so now you're using face recognition, you're using it for these children. So what kind of data are they collecting when they do, this facial recognition? Like, what are you doing? Are you mapping my kid's face? Is there going to be a clone of my kid at some point? So, that's the thing. Like, there's a whole rabbit hole that you could go down, but at some point you need to start thinking about that, because the same way that we can even fathom it, somebody probably has gone even further, or somebody has fathomed something even further than that. So, it's a delicate balance. It's a delicate balance between, using it for convenience and for learning versus using it for evil. And, we always hope that, you know, anything involving our kids, anything involving our families, our loved ones, we always hope that it's always something on the positive, but honestly, it ain't always. So,
And that's a thing to start doing, is teaching your kids about privacy, on and off the internet and things like that. And, consent, because I don't know if you guys know, but I know at least iPhones do it. I don't know how Androids or, any of the other phones work. But when you download a new app and you open it, it'll ask if you want the app to track you or not.
hmm
With all the new apps, it'll ask you that, or even apps that you haven't opened up in a while, they'll ask you like, ask app not to track, or what the other option is. I just know the top one because that's one I always choose. Don't track nothing I have going on. Don't. I don't care what I don't care what you want it for. Don't do it. It's always going to be no from me personally, but then that's a good thing because there's not going to be a way to escape it. So you might as well go ahead and get in front of it and start teaching your kids the do's and the don'ts about things like that when it comes to AI and, selling your personal information and data and things like that, because there's apps that do it and there's some that do it and don't even disclose it. So, and you get like these notifications like, oh, well, your password has been seen in a data leak and this, that, and the third. Your phone number came up and all these spam texts and calls, and there's literally no way to escape it. So you may as well go ahead and teach your kids the do's and the don'ts of what they're supposed to be doing on and offline, on their phones, with any technology at all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then doing that, like Chanté was talking about that, honey. Somebody been trying to call me from 17 different numbers talking about they from underwriting and I've been approved for the loan. What loan? Because I ain't apply for no loan. Okay. So I mean, you just have to teach your kids, definitely don't give their names out, don't live, don't tell where you go to school, things like that. Don't tell your parents' names, and for me, I make sure that the girls aren't on anything where they can chat either, like speaking or by typing. I make sure that no, none of the, maybe like, can we play Roblox? No,
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 ma'am. No,
no,
ma'am.
absolutely not. So, that's something that for now, I'm able to kind of put a damper on that Roblox mess. Okay. So here's our final question for you guys. And I guess Shantae, I'll ask you, do you feel like AI actually lightens the mental load, or do you feel like the mental load is still the same? AI is just giving it like this nice shiny wrapper.
Me personally, I feel like it lightens my mental load. For me personally, because I always have 501 things going on in my mind. And like we were talking about earlier, it's easy to just set an alarm for this or add that to the grocery list or remind me to do this or I need this, that, and the third set for tomorrow. Like it makes, for me personally, it makes my life a lot easier, especially when my kids are a lot because lately they've both been in like constant tizzies because we literally just moved houses. So they're, trying to get acclimated to their new environment. So they've both just been showing out quite a bit and just crying and the whining and all that. There's times where I feel like I literally can't think. And then you have that alarm going off and you see what it's for. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot all about that. And
Right.
had I not set that alarm when I said so 4 hours ago, I would have then that would have been the end of that. Like there's times where I tell it like when it hears me in the kitchen doing breakfast to take out whatever meat of the freezer that I need for that day because I will forget. And 9 times out of 10, I forget to take it out in the morning. I don't remember it till like noon, 1 o'clock, and it's too late to be taking anything out the freezer when we eat at like 5, 6 o'clock. So it's already too late. So me personally, it makes my mental load lighter.
Right. For me, I feel that yes, it does make my mental load lighter, but then sometimes I also feel like I'm using it as a crutch. I've never had a really good memory when it came to certain things. Because with certain things, I have a stellar memory, okay? But when it comes to like little things around the house, like Shantae said, take the meat out. I'm doing laundry. I'd be doing that one load of laundry for 4 days. So that's the thing. My memory has never been good, and I feel like sometimes just using Alexa over and over and over, that it's kind of making my memory worse because I'm using it as a crutch. But I'm gonna continue using it because, baby.
You gotta survive. Personally, right?
Oh, okay. So then the last I'll touch on is the illusion of productivity versus an actual meaningful parenting presence. So do you feel like is kind of replacing that parent, like people are using it to replace, instead of that meaningful parent presence, instead of being present, that they're using the AI to make it seem like, oh, I'm so busy, I got all this stuff to do.
Yes, I do because there will be like videos on TikTok that I see where, people have alarms set for literally every single possible thing in the day. And I'm like, sweetie, there's no way you forgot to do all of that stuff. Just wanted to have 500 alarms and 500 reminders just so you have something going on just to say that you're busy. And I'm not saying that people aren't busy. It's not what I'm saying, but that's more than using it as a crutch. Like I don't know what is a step further than a crutch, but like that's I don't even know what to call it, but there I do feel like there's people that take it definitely too far when it comes to doing things like that. But that's not my business. So hey.
Right, that's right. So it's almost, yeah, it's almost like a dependence.
Yes, and for sure the overdependence that we were touching on earlier. You just always want something going on
Yeah.
just to feel like you're busy all the time. Which me personally, I don't like feeling like I'm busy all the time.
Okay.
I like my peace and quiet.
That's right.
So I personally never understood that. But like
Yeah.
I say, to each their own. But I do see that there is a lot of overdependence on
Yeah.
things.
I feel like a lot of it too, so tying it back to being a mom, I feel like a lot of it too is that a lot of moms, if they're not busy, if their calendar isn't packed, they feel like I'm not doing a good job, I'm not being a good mom and stuff like that. So I feel like, yes, it has the potential to, like you said, go over to the dependence area and, there's no more presence. There's no more meaningful parent presence, because we're so interested in looking busy and, trying to make everybody think that we got the most going on and our kids got the most going on, that, it ends up just being like another rat race. And what are you really doing? Like nothing, So that is it for us for this episode. We want to thank you, first of all, for joining us. We want to thank you for locking in with us, okay, every week, because we definitely appreciate the support. And I know our presence on social media lately has been a little less than it normally is, and like I said, life has been life in. And then, like I told you in a previous episode, my sister is battling breast cancer. So this past week has been a really hard week for her. Not to get into too much here because we cover it over on Her Health First Wellness Collective, but she had a setback and she had to have a round of chemo pushback because her white blood count got too low. So definitely, if you're a praying person, pray for my sister. Keep us all in your prayers, because it's rough. It's rough on all of us, but her most of all. So just ask that if you're a praying person, whoever you pray to, just send up a prayer for her. Thank you, love you, and I mean it. Okay, but that is it for us this week. You got anything else to add, Chanté?
No, I was waiting for my like, comment, subscribe line. I was
Oh,
ready.
well, look, since you waiting on that, I want to say also congratulations to Chanté, because like she said, she just moved. So congratulations. She's been waiting on this upgrade now for a whole year. So she's
Yes.
gotten it.
Oh my goodness.
Proud of you. Very, very proud of you guys. Because it's tough. It's tough. Parenting is tough. And then, being in the middle of nowhere doing it by yourselves is no easy feat. So definitely proud of you guys. Oh, y'all doing it. Y'all doing it. Y'all rocking this parenting thing. So I just wanted to say that. Congratulations.
Thank you. Well, for those of you that want to see it, at some point when I figure out this whole audio situation that I have going on, I will be posting it and then have, other videos for the house coming at some point when I figure out this whole editing thing. So I'm working on it. But yes, like my mom said, we have been waiting for this for an entire year because when we first got here, the wait list was way too long. And it was a hot mess. So we ended up in a place that was way too small for us. So it was just crammed constantly and there was no backyard. The kids didn't even have their own room. Like it was a lot going on. It really was. But we have a ginormous backyard. The kids have their own room. There is a bunch more space that we're used to. So it's so very grateful at this point because I was telling my mom the other day, like if I could have done a backflip, I would have done a backflip right there in the middle of the floor, right there, right then and there. I'm telling you, I would have done a backflip with how happy I was because yes, I have been, looking at the floor plans and stuff online, but like actually seeing it in person, it looks so much bigger in person than it does on pictures, which normally that's how it works.
Mhm.
But still, it's different seeing it in person and then like all the different perks that they have going on and the fact that, we're starting to make more friends because if you guys know anything about me personally, I'm not very outgoing at all. Like it takes me a hot minute to, actually, psych myself up to talk to people, but we've started making friends and friends with kids and so we're getting it together. We're getting it out cuz we're both honestly introverted
Right.
1000. My husband and I are like the same person, just different genders. I'm telling you, we are the same person. So neither one of us are very outgoing, but I mean, with him, he kind of doesn't really have much of a choice because he has to, work with these people. But me, I would love to be a hermit, but I don't want my kids growing up to be hermits. I want my kids to grow up and be able to adapt, especially because of the lifestyle that we have, where it's very possible to be moving every so often. So I want them to be able to go out and talk to people and things like that and not be like, oh, well, mommy never talks to people, so I don't want to talk to people because no, 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 no. I don't want to pass that on. I am very socially awkward. I would definitely say I have social anxiety because I do not like going out in public. I don't. I do not like it. Even to the store down the street. I don't want to do it. Not by myself. I don't want to do it. And I don't want them growing up doing that because at my big age, I'm scared to go to the store. I mean, it's not so bad now, but at my ginormous age, I'm scared to go to the store. Like, come on. I just had to lock in. I've been doing a lot better going places with, the kids and stuff like that. I even went to Walmart by myself. What was that? Thursday morning, I went to the store all by myself, guys, completely by myself, completely. And that was that I went anywhere by myself since we've been here. I have never went anywhere outside the house by myself because I was either going to doctor's appointments with my babies or we were all going to the store. So I've always been leaving with someone else. But that was the very first time in a year that I left the house by myself.
Congratulations also.
Yeah, I was very proud of myself for that. But yes, we're getting it together. Everything is great. I'll throw in some updates here and there over the next couple of weeks, and yeah, we'll tackle all those bridges when we get there.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. That is it for us for this week. So if you have any tips, tricks, questions, comments, concerns about AI and parenting, please drop them in the comment section. You can email us. We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram. Of course, YouTube. Wherever you get your podcasts, we're there. Okay. So drop us a line and do what, Chanté?
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Yep. So that is it for us for this week. So we love you and we thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for tuning into the Quimby Chronicles Momcast. Don't forget to subscribe, share this episode, and join us next time as we tackle more of the beautiful chaos that is motherhood.